What's up, guys? I'm actually back at it with another video, and today it's why you can't heel flip. I honestly get this in my DMs a lot for heel flips just because it is kind of tough at first, but once you figure out the secret behind it, which I'm going to reveal, then it makes it a little bit easier to land. So let's get right into it. So just as kind of like a first tip, make sure you actually have your ollies down a lot, because the ollie is going to be really crucial to landing this trick. Just because it's almost like a part of it. You're basically just like, instead of sliding your foot up to the nose, you're actually going to end up flicking off the nose instead of just sliding all the way up there. So make sure you have your ollies down. If you need help with your ollies, make sure you check out my Why You Can't Ollie video. I go over the secrets of how to land the ollie and kind of the common mistakes that happen when trying to learn them. So in this video, I'm going to be mainly going over the 4 common mistakes that I believe happen with heel flips. The first one is the foot position. So that's going to be one thing I'm going to go over, and then next I'm going to go over the improper flick that most people do. Those 2 tips are kind of going to go into each other. And then the third one, which I think the most common one, is people are landing over their toes when they're doing the trick. So I'll tell you how to fix that real quick. And lastly, if you're touching the ground, like your feet, before the board does, I think that's also a common one. And we're going to go over how to fix that common mistake. So the first thing I'm going to be going over is the foot position, and just note that I'm regular, I'm not goofy. So if you're goofy, just kind of like invert how I'm doing this. But first off, with your front foot, I'm gonna go like kind of step by step. You want to go 3/4 up the board. So you want to be just a little bit below the front bolts. You want to be like, you don't want to be on them. You want to just be like a little bit below it. So in between the bolts and halfway through the board, right? So you want to be 3/4 way up the length of the board. Secondly, how you should put your front foot on. I see a lot of people just like put their toes on like an ollie like this. That is actually not how you do it. You want to scoot your heel up more so that your heel right here is sitting on the edge of the board on your heel side. So you see like my heel's right here. A lot of people I see, they do this, and you're not gonna be able to get your heel over to flick on the corner over here when you're doing that. So just make sure you scoot your heel up just like this. So right on there. So your heel should just be hanging off a little bit. Basically your heel is gonna be sitting on the very edge of the board. So that's your front foot, 3/4 up the way on the board, and then make sure your heel is just kind of sitting on the edge of the board right here, just so you can kind of almost like move it like this. And then second, with your back foot, it's kind of up to your preference. A lot of people say you can put it in the back pocket. I don't really think that works much. I mean, you can still try if you want to. I like just putting it dead center on the tail, just because I feel like that gives me the best pop when I'm trying it. So just kind of to reiterate, you're gonna put your front foot 3/4 of the way up the board, right? And then you're gonna put your back foot dead center on the tail. And you can also try to put it in the back pocket if you want, but just kind of experiment and see what works best. So now if you're goofy, I'll actually invert the video for you right now. So now if you put your front foot 3/4 up the way of the board, right? Make sure your heel is hanging off just below, like kind of where your heel sits on the edge of the board, and then put your back foot on the center or in the back pocket. Just try that and see what works best for you. Okay, so now for the second most common mistake that happens with the heel flip is actually the flick. A lot of people are doing an improper flick. So basically what they're doing is after they pop, they're almost using like the bottom of their heel to flick. So they're just kicking straight out, right? And that is actually not how you want to do that. What you want to do, so I actually just practice just like me, holding your tail up like this, is when you have your foot in the foot position, like I said before, you want to actually slide your foot like an ollie first. So make sure it's actually using your ankle to bend it, and make sure like kind of like the bottom of your foot is kind of pointing towards the tail. So you see here, this points towards here. So make sure you have it slid up. And then after that, basically what you want to do is slide up, and you want to use the back of your heel right here and flick off the corner of this nose. So basically the corner of your heel to the corner of the nose. So you're gonna slide first, corner of the heel to the corner of the nose. So basically just kind of like sit here, have your tail popped up like this, and then just keep sliding up with your ankle bent, and then flicking the back of your heel to the corner of that nose. Because that's actually the right way to flick. A lot of people, what they do is they just kind of like kick forward with their foot, and you don't want to do that. I'll actually show some clips so you see that I'm actually bending my ankle, but just make sure you just don't kick forward with the bottom of your heel. Alright, so now for the third, which I think is the most common mistake that happens most time with heel flips, is a lot of people, when they flick, they actually land in front of the board like this. They land in front of the board. They're like, how the heck is it going behind me, you know? And the main thing is that it's because you're leaning too much over your toes. So if you think about it, if you're leaning this way, right, and you're gonna flick, you're naturally just gonna come forward. So that's what's gonna happen if you're leaning too far forward. So the only way to counteract that is, you guessed it, lean behind your heels. So you wanna lean back this way. A lot of people want to say lean backward. They think I mean like towards the tail this way. No, I mean behind your heels. I'll literally show you right here. See, my toes are facing this way. You want to lean back this way. And the main thing is, it's gonna be a little uncomfortable at first, but that's kind of the only way you can battle it, is kind of like act like you're sitting in a chair behind it. Like put make sure that you can almost like see the board in front of your heels. So you want to kind of like lean backwards and then do that. It's like, it's gonna be really uncomfortable at first, but that's the only way to fix that, because a lot of people, like, they'll just be like this and going over it. So if you see, if I put most of my weight behind my heels this way, then I'll actually be able to land it. So I'm like leaning mostly this way. And that was really ugly, but I was able to land on it instead of having it go in front of me. So I'll actually do one again, just so you can see. Just like that. So basically, just make sure you lean behind your heels. And if anything else, if you don't want to lean back, just make sure you stand straight up, because you're naturally going to want to go forward. So leaning back is the only way to kind of fix that. The last tip that I think is one of the most common ones also is that people will flick and their feet touch the ground before the board does. So they kind of go like this, like a, see how like my feet touched it beforehand? And a lot of people, what happens is that they're almost like straight legging after they're popping. So you see like a normal heel flip, I would like to tuck my heels up while I'm doing it. A lot of people, they kind of like flick and pop. After they do it, their legs just go straight to the ground. So either what happens is like this, they pop, but you see like my foot just went straight down, my back foot. Or the other thing that happens with their front foot, it'll go straight down. So they'll kind of like flick straight down. Like they won't actually try to tuck their knees up so the board can flip and you can land on it. So basically, the only way to fix this is you have to practice tucking your knees up after flicking. You can also do this like without flicking too, just like practice like standing here and tuck your knees up. You can do like a flick, tuck your knees up. It's almost like that. You gotta like flick first and then tuck your knees up. So it's like a, you're gonna look stupid in the middle of the road doing this, but who cares? You're trying to land this heel flip. That's how you're gonna get it. So just keep practicing that. After you do that a bunch of times, I'm out of breath, go. After you do that, make sure you take it into the trick. You don't have to land it. Just practice flicking and tucking your knees up like this. Like you don't even have to commit. You can like do whatever you want after. Just make sure you tuck your knees up after flicking so you get used to that motion. And then basically over time, just really commit to it. Like I know it's a little scary. I'll show a clip of me falling. I don't want to scare you even more, but you just gotta like try to just keep going and get back up after you fall, because honestly, that's the only way you're gonna land it is if you actually try. If you're like not trying, you may get lucky, but it's gonna be like, you won't be able to land it all the time if you're just banking off your luck all the time. So basically, you wanna practice tucking your knees up right after flicking, and then promise me, just commit, y'all, even if you fall, I'm telling you, you will be all right. If anything, wear a helmet. So basically, that's gonna wrap it up for the heel flip. I'm gonna go over all the tips kind of in a row so you can see how they all fit together. The first tip, like I said, the foot position, make sure your front foot's 3/4 of the way up the board, and make sure your toes are hanging off a little bit so that your heel can rest on the back edge of the board, right? So that's the front foot. Back foot, put in the center of the tail or the back pocket, whatever works for you. And then make sure you're actually bending before you flick. So bend your foot here, then flick off the corner of this. That's so important. I think that's one of the most important tips. Bend before you flick. So like ollie bend, flick, right? And basically after that, make sure you lean backwards, because a lot of people like to basically end up leaning over their toes where the board goes behind them. So make sure you actually lean backwards so you can counteract that. So all those together, and then make sure you actually tuck your knees up after flicking, right? And that's the only way you're gonna be able to stay above the board, because if your feet go below the board, your feet are gonna touch the ground before the board does, which means you won't land the trick. So basically everything I just said, but it's gonna link together like this. Just like that. All right guys, so thank you guys for watching. That's pretty much gonna wrap it up for why you can't heel flip. Those are the most common mistakes that I went through when learning them, and kind of what I see the most when people ask me for help. So if you didn't see anything that kind of pertained to you, you're struggling in a different way, then make sure to send me a DM on Instagram at SeanBrown99, and I'll probably get to you really fast. It is kind of stacking up more now with people asking for personal help, so I am gonna have something that's coming next year that actually be really exciting for 2020, so just keep a lookout for that. So yeah, this probably is gonna be my last video for this year, so thank you guys so much for an amazing year. I know I didn't upload that much at a certain period, but I feel like I needed that. But next year I'm actually gonna figure out how to get more videos out, just so you guys can watch them and actually help you guys with your skateboarding, because I feel like that's what I'm best at. Otherwise than that, my next video is gonna be kind of like a wrap up of my year. It's gonna be January 1st at midnight, so make sure you check that out. And yeah, otherwise than that, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's Christmas Eve right now, so Merry Christmas Eve, but when this uploads, it's probably gonna be Christmas. So Merry Christmas if you celebrate it. If you don't, then Happy Holidays. Hope everybody's having a good break from school or work if you get that. So otherwise than that, like I said before, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much guys. Peace.